I call this meeting to order. I want to briefly go over that this is being simulcasted in the ballroom. It's also streaming online, and the address is available on ETSU's Facebook and their Twitter. We'll go into roll call now. Please use your clicker. You don't have to click on the arrow. Come on, Caroline, you got this.
Is the battery dead?
It could be dead. We'll move on with it. What's that? Huh? Shay, are you still working on it? We'll just keep going.
26.
With 26 people present, we do have quorum. Koski, will you go over the minutes, please, from last meeting?
Last time we had 13 of 20 members present. The minutes and agenda were both approved. We had open forum. We had Tyler McCann come and speak about the new facilities and the new student section of the baseball field. We had Dean Van Zant come by, and she talked about the proposal for the library fee, which will be $10. It is endorsed by the Sherrod Library Student Advisory Council. There was a motion for the fee increase, and it was passed. Last time we had no old business, and then we went straight into new business. We appointed the Election Commission, Chief of Staff, Secretary of Interior, Secretary of State, all the new senators. We put on a new Bug Fund Committee, and the President Pro Tempore was also appointed. Those all were passed. We had SSR-13-015, SSA-13-003, SSA-13-004. These were all in their first reads. SSA-13-004 was motion to be deemed emergency. That was upheld. Then we discussed it, and it was also called and voted on, and it passed as well. That's it.
Senator Barker? There's been a motion. Is there a second? Senator McConnell? Second. Any objection? With that being said, the minutes have been approved. We'll now go into, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. Senator McConnell?
A motion to approve the agenda.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Senator Starrett? Any objection? Then the agenda is approved. We'll now go into open forum. Matthew, will you please come up?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Desjardins. I was the former Chief of Staff of the SGA. The reason I'm here today is because the reason why most of you all are here today is to discuss about the football program that is wanting to be instituted at East Tennessee State University. The only reason I am up here today is I had an overwhelming multitude of emails sent to my account. I had Facebook messages because unfortunately we haven't updated the website yet to where I am not the Chief of Staff anymore, and people decided to send me a bunch of emails and stuff. I wanted to share with you, senators, today their opinions, what was sent to me, what the Facebook messages were sent to me, all the text messages that were sent to me, and they were in the majority in favor of instituting a program here at East Tennessee State University for the football program. With that being said, it has drawn a lot of excitement. Us discussing this matter, I mean, this is the most I've seen our meeting with attendance. So it has drawn a lot of excitement. So I ask you, senators, to keep this excitement going. Whether this program goes through, whether this program doesn't go through, we need to continue this excitement. This is the most excitement I've seen from senators, the most excitement I see from students, and it's our job as representative of our students is to keep that excitement going. A lot of people are, the negative side of it was the cost of it, and I understand. I'm a student myself. It is an extra $1,000 what is proposed for a student that enters here as a freshman, and that is a lot of money for some students. So it is your job to reach out to those students to find out what their true opinion is. It is your job to inform them of the true information, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, but that's your job, is to inform them. You are their representative. They have elected you. That's your job. I have a challenge for everyone who's listening. I have a challenge for the president, both presidents. I have a challenge for faculty, staff, students, the athletic department. It is our job to encourage these students, to encourage the community, to encourage ourselves to want this program, to encourage all the programs we do have currently, to encourage the academic side of our institution. We have to keep that excitement going. We have to continue with the athletic department's attempt to get students to come to these games. Whether we have a football program or not, they need to attend the basketball games. We have to give the incentive to those students. What is the incentive? What is the incentive for the students to come? We have to show them that incentive. So I challenge you to keep that excitement going. I keep that encouragement and to engage every single student on campus, whether they're here in the College of Business or at the College of Medicine on the other campus. They have to be encouraged. So I thank you very much, and go Bucks.
Thank you, Matt. With open forum being done, we're going to go into our old business, which will be starting off with SSR 13-015. This is the infamous football legislation, and since I am one of the sponsors, I'm going to be yielding my title as chair over to our President Pro Tem, Zach Schultz.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and begin with sponsor remarks. President Ahmad.
I'm just going to start off with telling you guys what was the reasoning behind this legislation we brought forward. When myself, Leah Tilson, and Josh, we read together, one of the main points of our platform was to increase school spirit and student involvement, student engagement. After sitting on a huge amount of meetings this year, I finally came down to think that, hey, maybe football is the way to go. Maybe that is what will bring our school, our community, our alumni together. And that is what the university deserves, and it's just the respect that it deserves, because it's our school, and we all know how much we love it, but I think the pride, we all know, let's face it, sometimes it's a little lacking. That's the reason we wrote the piece of legislation, and I got to serve on the 125 committee, which was great. I'm going to be really honest here. I'm a first-generation American, so to be honest, I didn't even grow up with football. And if you put me in a game right now, I wouldn't know what the rules are, but I know this is what the campus needs, and I think this is what the campus needs. And it's just that excitement of going to a game. That's what we did in high school, bringing our students together, having fun, laughing, watching the game, and being proud of where we're studying at. The school that's giving us education is what it's all about. This entire semester, it's been one of those things that we were thinking about it. I've been at ETSU for 4 years now. I've been heavily involved with Student Government Association and many other organizations on campus. And I've seen, doing preview and orientation, I've seen students come in and being like, why don't we have football? What can we do to bring football? It's just a part of that American university experience. Over the years, I've also gotten a lot of chances to work with the international students, diversity educators, all this kind of stuff. And even when a lot of international students come in, they're expecting a football team because that's what the U.S. is about to them. You know, that's what the United States schools show on TV. That's why students are proud. And they always ask me, they're like, why does this school not have a football team? And I never really had an answer for them. So we thought that this would be a great legislation to bring forward and present to the student body. Over the past week, I received hundreds and hundreds of emails, and even last night I was up really late because I wanted to answer back to every single one of them, explaining where I'm coming from and why I think this is a great idea to give the school back the respect it deserves and to have that pride on campus. What I envision is seeing students excited to come here. I hate it. It bugs me so much when I see a student come in here and they'd be like, well, this wasn't really my choice. And let's face it, that's the majority of our students. I want students to say, this was my first choice, this is where I want to be, and this is what I call home. And now I'm going to talk about the 125 committees.
I'm trying to make some points. I have so many things, and it's been said. We've been thinking about this and working on it for so long that it's just, all my thoughts are just a little jumbled, and it's insane. But I want to start off with, whenever we would have our exec meetings with Dr. Nolan and all, his question to us was always, what do we want to see that we did for this university? What is it that we can say that we impacted? What was the change? And like Ikra said, whenever we came into office, it was all about the students on what can we do for you. We didn't want to come up with our own ideas of what we thought was right for the campus. We wanted to hear from you all. And it's always been the struggle. This is my 5th year here. And school spirit, I love the school. I'm so glad I'm here. I'll always be a Buccaneer. But it's hard to see other students that don't have that pride. And I feel like throughout the organizations we've been in, when it comes to preview and orientation, being an admissions ambassador, giving tours on campus, the people are always asking us, why don't you have football? If football was here, you all would be set. You'd be good to go. Everybody would want to be here. And it's been a little bit of a struggle to hear that because I feel like we have all kinds of other things on this campus. Football was never the thing I thought needed to be the answer. But throughout my time here, I've realized that there are moments where, you need that. And I'm going to go through these points, so I'm marking some stuff off. But with Dr. Nolan, going back to that, in our meetings, what was it that we could say that we did to this campus? We passed legislation and we've made sure that this place is a friendly area, that any student can come here and talk to us about what they think changes need to be done. But I want to see our school spirit. I want to see this campus blooming. I want to see our community. I want to see our alumni coming back and saying how excited, how proud they are that they went to this school. And I can't wait. Even though this is my 5th year and I'm about to go to grad school, I've already been thinking, I don't want to leave this place. I want to stay. I want to continue on. And I get giddy thinking about how much I love this place. And I want everybody else to have that effect. During Welcome Week, when we had the big Josh Turner concert, me and Ikra, we fought so hard on making it a public event. We fought and we drove Dr. Lee and Dr. Charlotte and everybody at Student Affairs. We drove them insane because we wanted it to be an open event, public, for the fact that anybody could come, that we could get our community, our alumni support. We wanted them to be able to get the experience as any other student here. At that time, it was just a time constraint, and hopefully later on, in the future, we'll be able to change something like that. But I want this campus to be where the community is booming, and they're always wanting to be involved on this campus. I don't see how that could ever be something that students wouldn't want to have, your alumni and people wanting to be on this campus. We have a beautiful campus. We have all kinds of academics that, we should be proud of. We have sports that we should be proud of, and I think that we don't need to be looking right now at where we stand, but where our school is going to stand in the next 5-10 years. And that's what while I was on the 125 committee, that's what I realized, is that we have a future, and it's a big future. It's not something where we just need to accept where we're at, or we need to think that we're defeated by any means, because we have a strong future coming. We have so many things. This school is booming, and it's a booming campus, and we're going to be expanding. We have so many things that are going to be coming up. This is just the next step for us. I think it's the right step. I'm going to keep marking all this stuff off. I'm rambling here. Just don't mind me. So another thing I want to point out is there are students here that maybe aren't interested in football. They might not be interested in wanting to have this excitement, all these activities to be involved in. But there are students on this campus that's what their drive is. They want to be the most involved as they can be. I know whenever I first decided to come to ETSU, I'm from Kingsport, so I was like, I'm not really going to, get much of a difference going to a university that's so close to me. I was getting scholarship money, and it helped me out a lot. And I was excited about ETSU, but it wasn't like this big, crazy, excitement of, wow, this is what's happening. I'm going to this Ivy League story thing. But as my time here, I've never been so happy. That's why I'm going into student, higher ed, is because of the effect that the impact that's happened to me over here. But there are students that want this. I think that throughout the discussion, you'll see that senators have done a lot of research. And they say, clearly there's an impact in here of students that have wanted something like this to come. Marking all this off. My last thing I want to point out is I know that this has been a big debate about the money, the $125 a semester. But there's a lot of fees that we pay for throughout our tuition and whatnot. And I'm going to talk about how lazy I am. I pay a CPA fee, but I don't ever go to the CPA. I pay a library fee, and I don't go to the library because I'd rather go home and study. Goofy thinks I'm getting hot now because I'm thinking of how ridiculous I sound. In general, though, you're constantly paying for fees that maybe you're not always using. At least you can think of a fee like this as something that really could go to a brighter future to make the school something better. And with that, I'm finally going to yield my time to Dr. Nolan.
First of all, thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do for our university. And thank you for what you do to represent your students. I want to thank Leah and Ikra. Today's an act of courage. There are a lot of easier paths that you could have taken. You could have selected initiatives that were focused on the arts. You could have selected initiatives that were focused on green space. You chose probably the most difficult initiative, an initiative of how do you change the culture and how do you change the future of the university. I know you all have a lot of questions, and at the appropriate time we can get into whatever questions you may have as it relates to finance. We can get into questions that you may have as it relates to any question that you may have, not only about this issue or other issues. But I want to step back a minute. 15 months ago, I stood in this room. 15 months ago, I stood in this room all day long. I talked to faculty, I talked to staff, I talked to students, I talked to departments, I talked to alumni, I talked to retirees. The third question I was asked during my interview process is what was my position on football. Every day through the interview process, I was asked about football. Every day that I've had the opportunity to serve you in this great university, I've been asked about football. We as a university have debated football for a decade. To say that there has not been an open conversation about this issue, I think, is an understatement. Some have asked, why did we not take this to a vote? If we were to have taken this to a vote, it would have undermined our confidence in the SGA, because the shared governance process of this university runs through this organization, the Faculty Senate, and the Staff Senate. So if we were to have taken an open poll, then there's no need to have an SGA. So I hope today you can bring forward your questions and your deliberation as we work through this in the shared governance process of the university. I want you to think 10, 15 years from now. 10, 15 years from now, you'll have graduated from this institution and you'll have gone on to grad school, to law school, to med school. You may be teachers, you may be physicians, you may be lawyers, you may be public servants. But as you look back and you ask yourself the question, what did we do while I was an undergraduate that I can walk back as an alum and still see? As I reflected upon my 6 years at one institution, I asked myself that question. And I was hard-pressed to find something that I had done that I could still point a finger to and say, it's there. Because of me, I changed the future of my alma mater. You'll have the opportunity to do that today. You have the opportunity to change the future of your alma mater. This is a world-class institution, but it's an institution that I've heard described as the best-kept secret in the state. I've heard it described as a sleeping giant. I've heard it described as that nice institution in Northeast Tennessee. I don't know about you all, but I don't think we're a sleeping giant. I don't think we're that nice institution in Northeast Tennessee. We're a world-class university. There's only one university in this country that has a more comprehensive health sciences program than we do, and that's a little old place called Ohio State. You cannot find a bank, a physician's office, or school in this region that is not run by ETSU alum. We're the engine that drives the economy of this region, and I'm tired of people taking us for granted. Football doesn't change the future, even though we've got a big orange football hat here. But what football does is it brings to the forefront all of the resources that your counterparts have across the state. As I reflect upon my collegiate experience, I remember times in the classroom, I remember times with the band. I was in the Mountaineer Marching Band for 2 days. I hated to march, but I loved to play the trombone. All of those aspects come together to define a university, and I feel we deserve that here at ETSU. This is not about today or tomorrow. This is about 25 years from now when you bring your children back to this campus. What do you want to show them? Now let's talk about freshmen, because many have said, what's in this for this group of students? If you are a freshman at ETSU, when you walk across the stage in 4 years, maybe 5, and shake my hand, here's what would have happened during your undergraduate experience. 1, we would have created a parking garage that changed the entrance to this campus. 2, when you leave that parking garage and walk onto campus, you're going to walk into a campus that's green. You're going to walk through a campus that's pedestrian friendly and feels like and is the most beautiful campus in the state of Tennessee. You're going to walk onto a campus on a Saturday that's filled with alum, ready for a game day, because our time frame is, if you approve, hire a coach in May, playing JV the next fall, and we're playing football in 15. We're also going to look seriously at a new conference. Some have said, why would we play football in the ASUN? The ASUN does not support football. Our goal is to be the best conference member in the ASUN that we can be. But our goal is to do what's best for East Tennessee State University, and that's to position us to be nationally relevant. I know that you all have a lot of questions. I apologize for my passion. But every day that I've had the honor to serve in this position, folks have asked me about football. What's your position on football? What's your position on football? I'm here today to say East Tennessee State University will be forever changed with a football program. The time has come for us to have football at ETSU, for us to have a marching band at ETSU, and for this to be a well-rounded public university. We cannot do that without your support. We cannot make that happen without you. So I look forward to the chance to engage in a dialogue, but before doing so, I want to cede some of my time to someone who has really provided the vision for this, because we're here today because of conversations that have emanated over the course of the past 6 to 8 months through the Committee for 125, a group that's charged with defining a future for our great institution 5, 10, and 25 years down the road. Within that group, we're looking at everything from a fine and performing arts center, which yesterday we learned is in the governor's budget for $1.5 million to begin the planning process. So we're looking at the arts, we're looking at academics, we're looking at health sciences, we're looking at engagement, and we looked at athletics. Judge Ken Bailey, ETSU alum, former student body president, chaired that committee, and I'd like to yield some of my time to Judge Bailey to talk about the process and to talk about his perceptions and experiences here at ETSU.
Thank you, Dr. Nolan. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today and see friendly faces, Joy and Sally. I was honored to be the president of student government in 1992. And, as Dr. Nolan talked about leaving a legacy, I think back that one of the legacies that I had a part in, down on the second floor where Chick-fil-A is now, at that time it was called the Eat and Run. And it was, as it said, you ate and you ran to the bathroom. It was horrible. And so the year that I was president, the contract was up for food services. And as student government, we demanded that as part of that contract, a real fast food be given the opportunity to have that space. And so the Chick-fil-A came in. So that was part of the legacy. Every time I see that, I'm proud of the fact that I had a little bit to do with maybe bringing that to campus in 1992. Let me say I chaired this committee in September, October, November, December, and Robbie and Leah served on the committee. There were 15 of us, and let me say you should be very proud of their service on the committee. They did an outstanding job representing the students. Leah repeatedly would say, I'm concerned about the cost for the students, and she kept that at the forefront, and we discussed that and about the expense for the students of looking at the athletics program. We didn't just look at football. We looked at all the athletic programs across the campus. When it came down, when our committee talked about a vision, for the athletics program of the university. The number one vision, and I'm going to read this to you because we've thought about students first. Foster a culture of inclusion through athletics that elevates the student experience and develops a stronger identity and lasting connection with students, faculty, and the community. But the first part of that was elevating the student experience. We felt like that the student experience, and from Robbie and Leah sharing their experiences, and most of the committee were alums. We felt like there was something missing. And I can say that since I graduated in 1992 and since football has gone away, homecoming is drastically different. Drastically different. Coming back for homecoming, you don't see many alums on campus. There used to be the luncheon under the tent, sponsored by the Alumni Association, out where the amphitheater is. I don't think that's there anymore. There would be 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 alums and students at a football game. And I'll be one of those folks to tell you, I hated going to the Dome for the football game. When Dr. Nolan asked me to chair the committee, the first thing I told him, I said, listen, if we recommend football, I will tell you, I don't think it needs to be played in the Dome. There was nothing worse when I was a student walking in on a beautiful fall day when it's 75 degrees and the leaves are changing, and there's no prettier place to be than in Johnson City, Tennessee on a fall Saturday in September, walking inside a mini dome. And it being a boring atmosphere. And if you were seated up near the top of the stadium, you couldn't see the plays on the sideline. You'd have to say, did we make the catch in the end zone? Because of the sight lines in the dome, you couldn't even see what was occurring on the side of the field. So it was sort of a mundane experience just because of the facilities. And so our committee talked about that. We felt like that by bringing football back, number one, it had to be played outdoors. It had to be an exciting experience for the students to elevate the student experience. And it wasn't just about football. A band program. I shared with Dr. Nolan earlier, there are probably more band programs in high schools in Northeast Tennessee now than there have ever been. Small rural high schools, all the rural high schools in Greene County where I'm from, all have band programs now. 10 years ago, they didn't. So that gives other opportunities for students to be involved in athletics, for parents, grandparents, girlfriends to come to the games, to watch those games, to see their son or daughter performing in the band, in the marching band. And I think that would have an effect and impact on the music department. So there's all kinds of exciting opportunities. And as Dr. Nolan said, and as Leah said, leaving the legacy. You have the opportunity to leave a legacy. In the late 90s, when the CPA was being discussed, there were students that paid the monthly or the yearly or semester fee, the semester fee for the CPA that never got to experience the CPA because it was built after they were done. And now I think that's one of the nicest facilities on this campus. They left a legacy for students like you to enjoy. So think about the legacy that you could leave in the future, bringing your kids back to an outdoor football game where there was real tailgating. We didn't have tailgating in the late 80s, early 90s. It really wasn't a big thing to do back then. So we didn't have tailgating. And now that Dr. Nolan's given approval for tailgating, I think of exciting times that we could have in the fall of 2015 in Johnson City by tailgating. And I'm free to answer any questions as the chairing the committee if you have any, if anyone has any.
Well, actually, we'll end up going to the committee's recommendations, and if we end up having a motion to adopt, we'll go into discussion. And the senators will be able to ask questions, whatnot.
And I want to point out Matt Wiljum, who is also on our committee, who is a local alum and was one of the last quarterbacks for the Buccaneer football team. He ran the numbers on comparing the student fees at East Tennessee State to other universities in the state of Tennessee and our peer institutions. So he has a lot of the student fee information when you say, well, how do we compare to Chattanooga, Tennessee Tech? He is here today also to share that with you. Dr. Nolan?
Judge, thank you. Madam President, members of the SGA, thank you again for your consideration of this issue. Let's consider it openly. Let's leave no question on the table because this is the opportunity for you to engage in that shared governance process that makes us who we are as an institution. There are few institutions in the country in which the faculty senate president, the staff senate president, and the SGA president serve on the President's Council. That exists here. So I hope in the time to come this afternoon, we have a rich and spirited discussion that's representative of who we are as Buccaneers. Thank you.
I just want to clarify clarify that if we end up going into discussion over this resolution, that like Dr. Nolan and Judge Bailey said, we do have resources here today that if you have any question, any concern, when it comes to the finances, just in general with the 125, please ask, because we want to make sure that this is a clear decision that ends up being made. We want to make sure that there's no hesitation and that you have the answers that you need. And I yield.
Okay, we will now move into committee remarks. This legislation went to the Student Affairs Committee. Senator Fleming.
Aye. All right, so we met yesterday afternoon about this piece of legislation, and we kind of came up with a series of questions we asked. Thankfully, Leah was there to kind of help guide us and to help clear up some of the questions we had. But so I'll go over some of the questions we had, and then we made a pros list as well. And then I'll let you know what we kind of came up with at the end. One of our first questions was, by endorsing the football program, are we also endorsing all other athletic programs affiliated with the 125 committee? Which I think Leah mentioned that, not directly, that this piece of legislation was specifically focusing on football, which helped clarify that. Also, we said, is $125 enough money for the football program, factoring in uniforms, scholarships, and coaching, which she said yes. And then we had a statistic brought to us by one of the committee members. They said only 12 out of 300 Division I schools can pay for their football programs. And I said, as a smaller school in a brand new football program, will this be enough money starting off? Also, we had a question of, is the football program a financial priority when the campus needs other renovations such as newer academic buildings? And I think Leah pointed out that we all have a budget within our tuition, and certain amounts of our budget go to renovations and things like that. Okay. Let's see. Also, we asked if the football program will have long-term funding. You know, right now it's new and exciting and everything, but in the long run, will it also have funding? So that was just some of the questions we came up with, and we want to hear your thoughts on later. Also, we came up with a list of things that we did like about this. I think another statistic that one of our committee members brought to us is that students with a higher SAT score are more interested in schools with football programs. The new generation of ETS students seem to be interested in the program. Also, we were told that a lot of the Johnson City community is for the football program, and also we said that football programs is a good opportunity for advertisement for other ETSU organizations such as SGA. And let's see, I guess also another thing mentioned is $125 isn't too much money in the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of what we came up with. Overall, it was kind of a split decision within the committee as far as being for the legislation against it. So we kind of wanted to see what the Senate thought about it. But that's the notes that we came up with.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt. Senator Barker.
I move to adopt SSR 13 next year.
Is there a second? Senator Starrett. Seeing that there's a motion to adopt and it's been properly seconded, are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we'll now move into discussion. Can you set the time for 10 minutes, please? There's also going to be a 30 minutes max, so just keep that in mind. Senator Triplett.
Okay. I actually was concerned about the students' opinion within this matter. So I had a break into my classes, and I took it upon myself, me, Senator Baird, and Senator Vance, and also Senator Paulson. We stood out in front of the library, which is the free speech zone, and we committed a poll. And we had a total of 438 students with 3 faculty members polled in this. There were 382 that were in favor of the football for ETSU. We did note that there would be a fee added to their tuition, and 56 were against it. So
as a senator of the student government, we are here to represent the students, and this poll definitely shows the favor within our student body. I mean, I know it's not, 2 hours and that was our response. So if we had plenty of time, like we had a lot of time to do this for a week even, and it was an online poll, and then we had people doing that, I can only imagine the response. And like they said, the other points, a lot of potential students shy away from ETSU because there isn't a football team. And this will encourage students, alumni, community, etc. And it could potentially benefit the other athletes. I don't know, they talked about the Atlantic Sun Conference. It doesn't support football, which pretty much just means that they just don't, not all teams in the Atlantic Sun Conference have football. That's pretty much what that means. So it could potentially support the other athletic organizations. And then also another point would be homecoming. This would give us, the school, so much more to like revamp homecoming. Homecoming's already so awesome at this university. If we had a football team to support, which we do other sports, but for some reason football is always the thing to do. It was in high school, it's just how it's always been. It is an American tradition, and I yield.
Senator Barker. First, I just want to say that I'm not completely sure where I stand on this. I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate because I feel like there's stuff that's not brought up. And I agree with Senator Triplett. You are roughly 30 people to represent over 15,000 people, and it's not just about you. It's about what those 500 plus students that you represent want. And this is something that needs to be debated deeply because of the fact that I've heard mixed results. I have heard, a lot of people want it, and then I went around to classrooms today and skipped a couple classes to do it. And, went to those classrooms, and a lot of people don't want it too. I mean, this is something that needs to be heard on both sides, and I had a few points to make. As far as, I know there's been a lot of alumni interest in this, but you are the current students' voice. You are the 2012-2013 SGA Senate. You are representing the people who are currently enrolled, and that needs to be taken into effect. And when you decide on this, and also I heard someone say it yesterday, and it was kind of a good point. That was, we're not here to do what we want, and we're not here to necessarily do what might be considered best for the community. Like, you are here to do what those students want. It's not about what we think is best for them all the time. Like, that should factor in, but it's not just that. It's also what they want. And this is something that, like I said, I've heard, it's been so close. I mean, I've watched every single one of you that put on Facebook. I read every comment that came up. And I've seen so many yeses and so many no's. And no offense to the people who did the poll, that was an awesome spur of the moment thing to do, but Board Check does not see every student that passes through the school. If you're a business major, a lot of times you don't even come to the side of the Board Check is on. So keep all these things in mind, and I'll yield.
Senator Hamill.
Senator Jay Hamill. I've conducted quite a bit of research and just stuff I've gathered from news articles, other bits of information here and there. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me afterward. Just allow me to take a couple minutes. To the Senate of the SGA and to the constituents in which this body represents. As leaders, we naturally want to make things bigger and better. We want to leave behind that legacy. And because we care about the school and about its students, we want to set a precedent, and we want to feel like we've made an impact on our campus. Don't forget that we already have. The parking garage, better dining options, the green space initiative, the CPA expansion, longer library hours, longer hours in the cave, and the addition of Starbucks are all just a few examples of exciting growth we've had the opportunity to see this year. The average college student now takes about 5 years to graduate. Yeah. When you're looking at about $125 a semester, and you multiply that by 10 semesters, you come out with an addition of $1,250 over the course of a standard college career. That's adding over $1,000 to the already surreal college debt that most students end up with by graduation. Looking at it another way, $125 times 15,500 students is almost $2 million a semester. Over the course of 5 years, that's $20 million if neither the fee nor enrollment increases, which they surely will.
A key fundamental to most current leadership theory would suggest that it's more important to play one's strengths rather than to be the most well-rounded. Today, this applies to the vision of the institution. The students I know say that we rather need to be looking toward the future in a way that benefits more than just traditional college students and alumni. That we rather need to continue to ensure that our institution remains affordable due to the amount of students we already have living below the poverty line and paying for their education out of pocket. We rather need to be continuing to invest in cheaper, healthier, and more diverse dining options that will better accommodate the needs of the everyday student. That we rather need to continue to improve parking conditions so that all students can have a reasonable walking distance to classes. Also, that we rather need to invest in more classrooms because programs such as the Women's Studies program doesn't even have enough class space to teach the required courses. I've also heard that we rather need to invest further into programs like Little Bucks and Bucky's Food Pantry and do more to ensure that students have the option to not go hungry or not drop out of their classes due to lacking affordable childcare. An article on the front page of Thursday's East Tennessean reads, like other TBR institutions, ETSU did see a change in enrollment, but it was particularly offset by an increase in out-of-state students who pay more in tuition. Yes, we did lose money for the decrease, but out-of-state numbers were high as well, Collins said, because it costs more. Out-of-state enrollment helped us a lot last semester dealing with this enrollment decrease. The article then proceeds to note that ETSU unrestricted current fund balance dropped over $8 million between October 2011 and July 2012. According to ETSU's website, full-time student of 15 hours paying out-of-state undergraduate tuition is currently $11,184.50 per semester. This week, one of my constituents recognized me as a senator and stopped me in the hall of Roger Stout. She begins to tell me that she's a 45-year-old who is coming back to college to make a career for herself. She goes to school full-time, works part-time for low wages, and is a full mother of 2 other current ETSU students, and is paying all 3 of their tuitions with cash out of her retirement fund. How will a football program benefit her? And how would an extra $3,000 or more over 4 years benefit their educational experience? As much as our campus needs more extracurricular, more student engagement, and more leadership opportunities, football is not the solution. The vast majority of ETSU students attend here because of great academic programs and more commonly out of practicality, either geographically or financially. Excuse me. As a regional state school that is hosted in the heart of Appalachia, a great number of our students come from low-income families and blue-collar backgrounds. We asked the questions as to why we've had a reputation as a suitcase campus, and the answer is simple. Because the students we attract work full-time, and because the students we attract have families waiting for them at home. Those of us who are very engaged in student life often forget how privileged we are to be able to have the money to rely on and the time to spend involved in student life. We forget that extracurricular involvement is the minority at ETSU, not because of lack of interest, but because of need to wisely prioritize time and resources. Unfortunately, we fail to recognize that it will stay this way despite where athletics takes us. So we ask ourselves, does the risk outweigh the benefit, and does a desire for football overpower the need to keep costs low in order to ensure quality education at a reasonable price? I've heard several students note that we will still be the cheapest school in the TBR if this legislation passes, but why are we comparing ourselves to other institutions? How can we become recognized as a leading regional institution that stands above the rest if our bar is only set at what other local schools are doing? Having lower tuition costs is what has made our institution a choice university for so many. And if we recognize the needs of our student body collectively, football is not a benefit to their educational experience. Thank you. And I move to extend time by 10 minutes.
Thank you. Do you yield?
Yes.
Senator Rivera.
I need to get a motion in a second for the extended time.
Okay. So I had a motion for the second by Chris Parker, Senator Parker.
That's for an objection.
Is there any objection to the extended time? Seeing none, we'll move on to Senator Rivera.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say I agree with some of the things that Senator Hill stated. First semester here, I did come here as a student because it was a very affordable university, and I thought it would be something I could easily manage by working and be able to support myself. I myself, at the beginning, when this was spoken last week, I thought, there is no way I want to pay extra money as much as I already pay for school and for everything else that I have to support myself. Why am I going to pay the $125? But that's not the seat that I was put in by the student body. times we cannot be selfish and think of ourselves and think, okay, this is what I want for myself and this is what needs to be done. Through the reach that I talked to the student body and through the diversity and through the minorities that I've spoken to, the majority of them agreed that this would be a great program for the university. This would be something the university would need and would basically for the expenditure. Everybody speaks and says that the university needs growth, the university needs more diversity, that the university needs this, and that. But how are we going to do that if we're so limited to the resources we have? Yes, we need improvements. Yes, we need new facilities. And yes, we need things to be improved within faculty and things like that. But there is so much only that it could limit it. The university, by Ikra and Leah and the 125 committee wanting to approach this, is not just only to increase the fees. Fees are going to be increased no matter what. We just had an increase in them last semester, and as the university grows, as enrollment grows, and as the university wants to have a better prosperity and better education, fees are going to increase no matter what. This opportunity to have a football team is not only going to better the student body, have a better school spirit, but it's also going to create jobs and a sense of community in the tri-state areas. What university around here can say in the tri-state area, except Emory-Henry, which is not really included in Emory and the tri-state area, that they have a football field, that they have a football team, and that they have that sense of spirit? I believe that this is just what the Tri-Cities needs, this is what the student body needs, and this is what the university needs in order to grow and prosper. How are we going to tell student bodies, how are we going to tell minorities that we can't grow, that there's no resources or anything like that, when we don't have the capability to provide that for them? But we don't have the budget, we don't have the resources. By having a successful and sustainable football and football team and athletics, the university would be providing many things like that. I myself was a member of the 125 committee for the culture and outreach, and there was plenty of things that I would love to see on this campus, this multicultural center, and many other things. That wouldn't be possible because we don't have the budget for it, we don't have the resources, and but having a sustainable and successful athletics team who's going to bring revenue, who's going to bring school spirit, and who's going to bring up the enrollment, we're going to be more than capable to have a more than prosper and successful university, to be proud to be a Buccaneer, to be proud to go to ETSU, and to want to come to East State State University. And being that said, I yield my time.
Thank you. Senator Dabner.
Okay, I have a couple comments and questions for Dr. Nolan. The comment is, I, as an older student, has gone around and talked to faculty and staff because they're involved in this situation too. What they felt like is, were they for or against, and it would basically half and half because a lot of the staff and faculty were here back when we did have a football team, and their concerns of mine are, number one, do you have, Dr. Nolan, do you have a set or a figure in mind of how much it's going to cost to get this in place? And if so, how much of the $125, if that's what we are to pay as students, how much of that is going to be able to help, get it off the ground within the first 2 years?
Dee, I'm going to you're going to ask me the question, we're going to yield.
I'm sorry, okay.
You're fine. Just making sure we keep up with Harlan Pro.
Thank you. With response to the question, the level of fees, the $125, would bring our tuition and fees that are restricted and reserved for athletic expenditures to a level equivalent with that at the University of Memphis. Tennessee Tech will be going to that same level. Our total athletic budget is right about $12.5 million. So the fee increase that's being discussed here would provide sufficient revenue not only for a football team, but for all of the Title IX associated costs. Because as you look at the inclusion of additional scholar athletes, you would need to add additional sports so that those numbers are equivalent. So the fees that are being proposed here would bring our total athletic budget to a level that is sustainable, to a level that would not only support excellence in football and other sports, but would allow us to remain compliant with Title IX. One point, you did not ask this, but I want to stress this. Of the institutions in the Board of Regents system, we are the only institution that does not fully expend all of the state funds that it could utilize for athletics. We leave about $700,000 on the table that is invested into the academic infrastructure. If we were to move forward in this direction today, we would not transfer that $700,000. That $700,000 would stay in the academic budget. So the academic budget as it is would not be reallocated. There's no intent to reallocate. These are restricted fees for restricted purposes to serve the athletic department as a whole.
The $125 then, are you saying that it would be for all athletics or just for football?
It would be for the costs associated with the addition of a football program to our diversity of intercollegiate sports. If we were to do so, there are associated costs. There would be a need to add an associated and equivalent amount of scholarship athletes for females to remain Title IX compliant. So we'd potentially add, make up the sport, but you would add an equivalent number of scholarships so that we would remain Title IX compliant. So this is not just for football. This is to position the university to remain compliant with Title IX and to be competitive.
Thank you. Senator Crabtree.
First, I want to say thank you for everyone who's worked so hard on this. Without you all, we wouldn't have come this far. I made some points here to keep myself from rambling, so bear with me. The pros of bringing back football, community involvement. We'll have donors, students, community members attending games. We don't have that. Homecoming is another point. Right now, who wants to go to a basketball game for homecoming? The point's already been made. Football's the deal. Football's while we go to homecoming. No basketball. We can't do that. More potential students for the university. Having a football team would pique the interest of student athletes who don't even look at us because we don't offer the sport that they want to play. It's been brought up about a marching band. I had that. That brings music students and more scholarships. A boost in school spirit. I want to see students walking around who are proud to wear blue and gold. I don't want to see orange. I want to see people throughout the community, Walmart, the mall, everywhere you go. I mean, I think Dr. Nolan's been quoted as saying he wants to paint the community blue and gold, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Overall growth and improvement for the university. Tuition will increase, that's necessary. It's increased before with the addition of other athletic programs, I assume, and if students before were willing to raise their tuition to give us the athletic programs we have today, I don't see why we shouldn't do the same for future students. And my closing remarks. We have an opportunity to do something for our school and our community. If we fail to act on this, when will the opportunity arise again? Maybe never. If you care about the improvement of our university, student involvement, and school spirit, I urge you to take this chance to do something that will help all of those things. Do not let this opportunity slip through your fingers, and I yield.
Tom's running out. Does anyone want to make a motion to extend?
Let it run through.
Let it run through? Okay. So we'll go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to Senator Elrod.
I actually have some questions to start out with. Okay. First off, we have talked about your institutions. Can somebody throw out some names of teams we would be playing? If we were to get
With the football team? With the football team?
Yeah, who would be some of our competitors? We had talked about getting rivalries going. What kind of teams would that happen with?
Well, I think in general it's going to be on if we ended up changing conferences.
Right.
I don't know specifically when that would happen or whatnot. We can end up asking Dr. Nolan and them what their ideas of where we would see our football or our conference at. Okay.
Sorry. Madam President, I want to be respectful of the time.
Right. If somebody will end up making a motion to extend time.
I'm moving this for the time.
Okay. Do I have a second? Senator Greer.
Any objections?
Any objections? I don't see any. So.
This will be the last 10 minutes, so remember, at the end of this 10 minutes, if there's not a motion to end up voting, it's dead. So just make sure that you use this last 10 minutes effective.
Madam President, before you start the clock, am I on the clock or am I off the clock?
You're going to be on the clock.
All right, I'll make it quick. Conference landscape is muddled. Our ability to examine potential conferences is predicated on the initiation of football at ETSU. Without football, there will be no conference change. So if we were to look at where we were prior in the Southern, we would play the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, App State, Western Carolina, Furman. We would play Wofford. We would play the Citadel, etc. If we were to move to the OVC, we would play Tennessee State, Tennessee Tech, Austin Peay, Murray State, Belmont, etc. If we were to move to the Colonial, we would play James Madison, William & Mary, George Mason, University of Delaware, Drexel, Hofstra, Stony Brook, etc. I can't tell you where we will land, but I can tell you we do not have the potential to land anywhere without football. Without football, we are where we are. Without football, we may go down.
Do you have any other questions for us?
It's my impression that the football program was shut down last time because they ran into some monetary problems. It wasn't making enough money to justify it. So do you have any reason to believe it would make more money this time around?
This is a question of priorities. There are only a handful of institutions in the country that generate a positive revenue off of their athletic programs. If you were to look at any program as a entity that's in the negative with respect to revenue, you could state that every athletic program at this institution loses revenue. And we could go through how much you lose on track, on basketball, on women's basketball, etc. Those numbers range from $650,000 on down the line. So as you look at revenue, it would be the challenge of the athletic director to live within the budget that is afforded to him, just as it's the challenge of the dean, the provost, and myself to live within the budget that we have. We're not Ohio State. We're not going to generate a profit off our athletic department, but I look at this as an investment in the institution that's similar to an investment in political science, education, nursing, etc. So I cannot stand here with a straight face and tell you we're going to generate positive revenue on this. I can tell you that if this moves forward, we will live within the budgets that's appropriated for the athletic department.
I actually have one more question. This may be a stupid question. It's my understanding that for the money we put into male athletics, we have to match that amount for female athletics. Is that the case? And where would that money go to?
That was the question to Ms. Dabner's question. That was my response to Ms. Dabner's question. That's the Title IX. So the level of funds that are being proposed for your consideration today would provide us with sufficient revenues to maintain Title IX compliance.
Okay. I also wanted to mention, if any of your thoughts on this, if people are looking at their football program at the university, why would they pick UTSU as opposed to UTK, which is really close?
It's more than football when you make your collegiate choice decision. I used to conduct surveys, both here in Tennessee and in another state, asking students why they made their college choice decision. The number one response is major. As you move down those response items, you then get into services that are provided at an institution. One of the things that athletics does is it serves as a front porch for the university. If I were to ask any of you, tell me something that Butler is known for academically. You'll not know, but most of you have heard of Butler. If I were to ask the same thing about Gonzaga, you probably couldn't tell me, but you would know something about Gonzaga. So I think as students are making those college choice decisions, it's price. We still would be the most affordable four-year institution in the state. It's major, it's proximity to home, it's where your friends are going. What this does is it provides us with a set of engagement opportunities so that more of the students who are beginning their experience at ETSU graduate. Because if it's a Saturday and it's the third weekend in September and there hasn't been anything to do for 3 weeks, you're going home. And when you go home and you go home and you go home, you lose that attraction and affinity to the institution. So from my perspective, this is as much about building a culture of engagement as it is anything else. I apologize for the long answer. I know we're on the clock.
Okay. With that, and I really appreciate those answers. I would like to say that I take Danielle's question of, wanting to leave a legacy for this school And I've been sitting here asking myself, what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? And for me personally, it's more academics. I would rather us raise fees if we have to do so. And look at recruiting freshmen with higher GPAs and ACT scores as opposed to broadening our athletic programs. And with that, I yield.
Senator Starrett.
I also wrote mine down, so I'm just going to read off my speaker. I chose ETSU for the big school numbers with a small school atmosphere. As a freshman, I scorned the idea of a big state school where our sports teams overshadowed the main reason we were here, our education. As a student who places the utmost importance on my academics, I have seen that the best assets of ETSU truly lie in the academics we are offered. I've witnessed firsthand how our school excels and what is the first priority of the collegiate population. I believe that the obvious next step is to extend that level of excellence to other programs that could likewise thrive. As I made this place my home, the only thing that ever felt like it was missing from this campus was school spirit. As an admissions ambassador, I have seen an unfathomable number of students lose interest in the place we all call home because of the answers to their questions about our lack of a football program. This lack of general pride is the same attitude adopted by the students enrolled on this campus. It is heartbreaking for those of us who hold this place dear to not see the same appreciation reflected across the university's population. My goal is to see more students wear the colors of our alma mater with a sense of pride and camaraderie that can only truly come with the attitude of mutual passion like a football program could bring to our campus that already excels in every other area. It is our duty to push for the continuance of this legacy of excellence in every way seen possible. Let's bring the only failing aspect of this school to the same level of distinction every other facet of ETSU shares, the pride our students feel for their attendance to this institution. It is said that complacency is the enemy of progress, so let us not settle for complacency, but instead let us, by taking risks, push this institution to its inevitable further greatness. And with that, I yield my time.
Senator Johnson.
Dr. Nolan said that football changes things for everything. Can change the way this university's done, can change everything looking forward. Well, football last time was a failure. I mean, we're here today with no evidence of that program, no success stories, no anything. In my talks with alumni, which is one group I really reached out to as well as students, they said no one wanted to even attend the football games. It was a losing proposition. I'd like to say to thank Senator Hamill for all his research, because he brought up some awesome points that I want you guys to keep in mind. There was a lot of things. Hey, this is just $125 a semester. What's the big deal? If we keep saying what's the big deal to every fee we tack on, we will go from the cheapest state university to the most expensive in no time at all. I think in this legislation, we need to keep in mind the amount of parents that are working, that are trying to support them and their children and their family going through this university. I think we need to remember the students that we all know that skip meals so they can afford to pay their tuition. I think we need to remember the students that we know that live in their cars because they can't afford to live in residence halls. I think we need to all realize that this is not the most expensive, that this is not the best movement, in my opinion. I move to recognize the amendment on the table.
The amendment reads, amend SSR-13-015 to add Section 2. This resolution, upon receiving the proper vote by the Student Government Association Senate, will go into
effect immediately to respect the time frame at hand, the general welfare of the student body requiring it.
Need a motion to adopt. Senator Starrett. I need a second. Senator Wallace. Any objections? Seeing no objections, do we have to vote on this? Since there's no objections. We'll move into discussion. Okay. Sponsor remarks. Senator Barker.
Okay. This was an amendment.
Pause the time.
There's 73 seconds left.
The resolution needs a set time frame on it, and because if you know how Robert's Rules and Robert's Procedure works, that we now get 30 minutes to discuss this further. So I yield to Dr. Liz.
just because we have new senators in here, I want to clarify for you what just happened. Your Constitution says that once you go into the period of discussion on a resolution, you have 30 minutes to reach a decision. As you can see, we were real close to that 30 minutes. So Senator Barker very wisely placed this amendment on the table so that we can talk about the amendment for another 30 minutes. The amendment basically says this is, anyway, she bought us another 30 minutes. So at the end of that 30 minutes, if we don't have someone call for the question, if you don't call for the question at the end of this 30 minutes or introduce another amendment, it will die for lack of action. So that you are up against the time frame.
I also want to note that there was, a minute and 45 seconds left?
73.
A minute and 73? Make sure that once this amendment goes through, if we still have 73 seconds.
Okay, how do I add 73 seconds?
You're fine.
Because I tried, it only lets me add minute increments.
So we'll start at 10 minutes. Senator Wallace.
Yeah, I just have a few things to say in response to a lot of things that senators have already said, many of which are comments that I myself wanted to make. But okay. It would be ideal for our tuition not to ever go up. Nobody wants tuition to increase, ever. No one wants to spend money. It's not fun. But tuition is going to go up to encompass the number of students on campus because it's growing year by year. That's how it is at every university for the most part. However, I want to determine how we want to spend the money that is increasing year by year. Since it's going to go up anyways, I'd rather it go to something like football. Because football could do so much for this campus, as you've already previously heard. With, football, it doesn't only affect the athletic department. It affects the music department. It affects the student organization participation within homecoming or making booths for the parade and things of that nature. Tailgating, just spirit all the way around. And yeah, students come to college to get an education. We all know that. But what is going to excite us about being here while we're getting our education? It's that motivation on a daily basis that needs to be assessed in this meeting. And that is spirit, you guys. It's spirit, and that comes with athletics like football. And football is a great American tradition, and it's something that we don't have. I'm here on Pilgrim. I bought these jeans from Goodwill. I'm bringing my mug I'm pretty thrifty. I can't relate to staying the night in a car opposed to a dorm. I can't say I can relate to that. But I can say I'm here on Pilgrims. I could have chose another school. And I was almost tempted to by football teams. I really was. Because there's that spirit, there's that drive, there's that, pride on campus. But I saw some pride on this campus. And that's what made me choose ETSU. And I just want to encourage the little bit of a spark that I saw. And I want to ignite that spark, and I want us to grow, and I want us to grow with the addition of a football team. I think it's vital. I don't think it's just important. I think it's vital to this student body to have something that's going to lift our spirits up. It's going to make us proud to be a Buccaneer. And I just want you all to think about that. I yield my time. I yield my time to Shake King.
And I just wanted to say a few things. I have been involved in student government since my freshman year, so I just wanted to speak to what I know being involved on campus. And something Dr. Nolan said, he mentioned campus culture, and I just wanted to talk about that because I keep, and bring this up to the point that I continue to have this sort of which comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of debate in my head, because I'm wondering, kind of like how Mike is saying, if students aren't excited to go here, our donor is going to be excited to give money to anything. And it really disappoints me because I actually, the other thing that Dr. Nolan was talking about, the sleeping giant, or these different kind of ideas of ETSU kind of sticking in the corner, not bother anyone. I'm from Nashville, so out of high school, I said I was going to ETSU, and numerous times I either got a polite smile like, oh, that's nice, or I had people asking if we had computers, would I be able to use a computer? Do I wear shoes if I go there? There's just things that it's really what is it? It's not that, I don't think that the intention of the people that are leading this effort is to undermine the importance of education, because that is the essence of why we're here. Rather, I think it's kind of a holistic picture that if we get the student body excited, if we increase spirit, what is the potential to drive our university in new directions, to put funds to academics, to new scholarships, to the arts programs. But if students aren't excited and they're just kind of shrugging their shoulders, trying to get that paper and get out, I don't think that we're going to have a lot of growth for the university. So, and I yield to the execs up there.
Well, Elizabeth was talking, sorry, let me go read a little. Elizabeth, you were talking about academics, and I know probably everybody in SGA knows that I'm a geek, you know. That's why I come here. I study biology, I do research all the time. So, but the thing is that our academics are not highlighted as they should be. Many of people even sitting here probably don't know that the med school year is ranked nationally. And one of my friends goes to UNC, and she was talking to me, she's like, oh, I have an interview at Quillen College of Medicine. And I was like, oh my gosh, did you know that's my school? That's ETSU? And she was like, no way. And I was like, yeah. So she just knew Quillen College of Medicine. She didn't even know that it was affiliated with ETSU. And that kind of really shocked me too. And I was just, and the thing with football is it's going to put us on the map. And what Shane was talking about, people were like, okay, when I was coming here, I came from Science Hill, and I would tell my teachers, and they'd be like, really? Why? You know, one of those things. And like, that's why we're here today, because we want to make that cultural change. And I understand, I completely understand. I was working 3 jobs at one point. Shay's my roommate, she knows that. I've had a big struggle with money too. But if you look at it in the long run, this is something that will help. It will get our faculty excited, it will get our students excited, and positivity is a chain reaction, and it does amazing things. And that's what this campus needs. Sometimes when I was a freshman, I used to walk around, I just felt like everybody's like in a blog. And then, so I'd just be like, hey, today's game, go Bucks. People would just smile. Just doing that makes a huge difference, and you guys don't understand that. Some of you guys aren't, I guess, not getting that, but it does, and I think it's just going to help that. And I just wanted to answer Elizabeth's question about academics. I think bringing it back and actually being a well-known school is going to highlight our academics rather than destroy them or whatever the concern is. And Leo was talking. Sorry.
I just wanted to point out very briefly that whenever I was serving on the 125 committee, I fought hard, and it wasn't for the fact of football, you know, that I wanted it. I love my sports, but I fought hard for the people that I thought they weren't going to be able to afford something like this. And I don't want anybody to think that throughout this time that we just made, in a sense, a rash decision and thought that everyone could afford something like this. You can ask Judge Bailey and Matt Wilgem. On this committee, I was mean. Like, I was just like, no, I don't see this working. This isn't good. Like, I was the Debbie Downer of that committee because I wanted to make sure that we had our information straight. I wanted to make sure that, you know, we had things lined up. And I do. I understand completely that it's a hard life out there, you know, and not our tuition is going to, you know, eventually it's going to increase and stuff. But I see this as a time that if our money, you know, if we're going to put money to something, why not it be something that's beneficial for us, the students? We talk about this place being a suitcase campus, but with football and with the activities that could be done on campus, people aren't going to want to leave. It's going to be a place where they want to stay the whole time because there's always events. I've had so many alumni, community, student people that have emailed us saying how much that they can't wait, you know, they want to see football, they can't wait to be coming on the campus. I had somebody send me a picture of whenever they were younger and they were painted up with Buccaneer on their stomachs, you know, and they were walking around campus telling students to show up to the game and all. And it's just, I'm a little jealous because if this happens, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I won't be a student, then I'll be coming as an alum or something, but this is our moment, and we can change so many things, and everybody knows that when you're involved in activities and you're involved in organizations, more, you know, statistics show that you have a better GPA, that you're going to stay in school longer, and I think this is our next step. We've yielded it as many times as we can. Well, yeah, I'll go back. It's back to you.
Okay, one more thing. I just wanted to say that I've actually been abroad for a semester, and I just got back, so I just wanted to point out one other thing is that, like, if I ever thought, I'm not a football person, and so it's kind of the benefits that could come from that, but if I ever thought there were a time for this to be brought up, it's now, because I got back from being abroad, and whoa, there's a Starbucks, and whoa, there's a parking garage going up. Like, the people, Dr. Noland, his team working with him, our execs, like, people are getting things done. So I don't think that this is an effort that's being thrown out on the table without a serious plan, serious ideas for funding behind it, and serious alumni that are willing to support whatever students need to make it happen. And I yield back.
With that being said, I move to end discussion.
I need a motion to. Okay, there's been an objection, so.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, so continuing on, Senator Barker.
I just want to say that we're doing an awesome job in here. But while I agree with Senator Wallace that our tuitions and fees go up every year and that's uncontrollable, and I kind of want to reiterate what's been said by Senator Johnson and Senator Hamill in the sense that those of us, the 30 of us sitting in here, are not your average students, because we are involved, and many of us are highly involved. We're involved in many, many other things, not just this. And as someone who knows what it's like, because I pay my full tuition out of pocket, I don't get any loans, I don't get anything. This is something that needs to be taken into effect. And I guess I have a question, because I'm not real sure. Like, I understand that at one point it sounded like it was going to be $125 no matter what, and then another minute it sounded like it could go up. So is it set at $125? And if it's going to cost more,
we made the $125.
Is there a second? Senator Hachi.
Any objection?
I object.
Okay, so
will you state your objection?
I feel like the discussion has ran its course, and we're just going to keep throwing out ideas. I think everybody at this point should have their mind made up. I think we need to call it to a vote.
We'll have to do a 2/3 vote on this. Parliamentarian Hachi, will you please explain to the Senate what they'll be voting on here?
So here's the deal. If you want to keep talking, you feel like you need to keep going with this, you got something else that's important to say, hit that green button, yes. So you're going to say yes, I don't blame you. No. I'm going for the objection. Yes says let's vote now. I'm done talking. Let's do it. On the amendment, not on the actual piece of legislation itself. So, that means we'll have 73 seconds to talk at that point. So, if you are done with discussion, finish talking, finish saying what you're going to say, yes, I'm done. No says I'm not done. I'm not ready to stop. Let's keep this discussion going. Let the time go as it will.
It does take a 2/3 vote.
And keep in mind there's 11 people on the speakers list. Can you abstain for me? My clicker's beside you. Chris has it. Never mind. Senator Barr. Put the chair down, please. Well, there we go. Can you let the record say that I abstain?
So
with 9 to 18 and one abstention, it failed. So we're going to be back in discussion on the amendment.
So there was a question. Where was Chris?
We were with Chris.
As far as
$125.
Could it go up?
Well, when we met with Dr. Shirley and Dr. Leonard about the money itself, it was that 125 would be the amount. Like that would be the cap of the increase.
From my understanding, it would have been 100 to 125.
But the 125 would be the max. For safety reasons. Does that make sense?
Yeah. My only other point that I want to make, and that I'll yield to the other 11 people that are waiting, is that while I love football, I really do. Anyone that knows me knows I'm the biggest Florida Gator fan that has ever probably existed because it's where I'm from. But what scares me is, is this something that we're going to do and we have the same problem we have with basketball? My first 2 years here, our basketball team was in the NCAA tournament. It was a big deal. It's a huge deal. And we couldn't even pack the house for that. So what scares me is that we do all this and we pour all this money into it and that we can't pack a house for a football game for the exact same reason that someone was sitting in here with a Tennessee hat on. Are we going to be able to get some? So because you don't know when we'll play. And are you going to be able to get enough of the student body and the community to pass up on those season tickets to UT's to go see the Vols play to be able to get them to come here? And I do think, like, if we can do this and if we can pack the house and we can get the community, I think if it works out perfectly in a perfect utopian world, like, this would be an awesome thing to vote on. But what scares me is that we do not live in a perfect world, and then are we going to end up regretting this decision down the road?
Senator Hachi.
So, first of all, I would just like to say thank you for actually going out and speaking to the students and discussing this. You can ask Dr. Lee. It was one of my concerns. And honestly, I think with an issue like this, the fact that I make one post on Facebook and ended up with over 100 comments within less than 24 hours is amazing to me to see that one issue has such an amazing amount of opinions that will come out. With that said, personally, I was very, very skeptical of football to begin with. And I went around, I didn't know what I was going to do when I came into this room today. Because money is a big deal. And $125 may not seem like a lot to some of us. Honestly, I can say that I'm blessed enough that that may not be a big issue to me. But to a lot of people it is. And I think that it's important that we note that those people have a voice too. We can't allow them to not be heard. However, my job is to represent over 500 students. That is my job. So what I did in the last couple of days, I pulled Facebook, I went around campus, just as many of you have, and I asked people, what do you want? I described football to them. I sat down with people during my break yesterday, trying to eat lunch on the go, so that we could try and figure out what's going on. And the students have come out with an overwhelming yes. The first day I went out for the first half of the day, it was split. Every class I spoke to was split. And it was split like a class. There would be people who sophomores and up would be debatable as to whether they liked it, and freshmen were all for it. Every single one of them I spoke to, which I enjoyed the energy I got to see. So today I have to say I'm casting my vote in favor of football because that's what the students want. However, I present this with a challenge as well. And this isn't just to our ETSU community, but to the community around us as well. This is not going to be easy. There are going to be students who are going to incur this cost. That's not a small matter. No one here should take that as a small matter. The important thing to realize is there are people who are going to have this cost, and it's going to be difficult for them. And I'm appreciative of the opinions that have been shown. There's Senator Hamill bringing up those people who need a voice as well. Thank you for that. Those people will incur this cost. That means we're taking a risk. We're taking a risk with this football team. We don't know if it's going to be successful, but the community around us and the ETSU community can make it successful. So my challenge to those of you who may be watching on the stream or in the other room or sitting right here, we have to get spirit up ourselves. Those in the community have to come out and support this team, and we have to support this team. Otherwise, what we have done is put people in jeopardy because we are using the students' money. And that's something we shouldn't take lightly. So I ask you, please support your team. Go out. And that's not just football, because we do have a wonderful tennis team. We have a great basketball team. We have a great soccer team. Go out and support ETSU. Let's show our spirit to this university and make the change. Make it energetic, and we can become bigger than even UT, in my opinion. Thank you, and I'll yield my time.
Similar to Senator Hachi, came into this meeting not knowing exactly which way I was going to be voting for this. But in the past 24 hours, I have been in contact with 559 different students via social media, social networking, and just face-to-face contact, where I got some very interesting and unexpected results. I was really surprised with the responses that I got and how quickly I got responses. When I went to bed last night, I had 83 responses to my poll. Today at lunchtime, there were well over 400, with 428 students voting yes, that they would like to see football, being well aware that there would be the $125 fee increase that's proposed. There are 122 individuals who stated they would be opposed to it, and 6 that said they would be indifferent. The reasoning from the people that I spoke to in person was it varied immensely. And some of the yes reasons were that there would be marching band. And believe it or not, that came up probably 40 or 50 times, how many people would enjoy seeing a marching band here at ETSU. And then there was a multitude of other things that came up, such as school spirit increase and just an increase in donor support to the university. There are also some reasons that came up for people not wanting to support implementation of football. And that went very surprisingly. Some people chose ETSU, they said, because we did not have a football team, which was very surprising. And that was over other Tennessee schools that did. Also, there was opposition to activities related to football, such as tailgating, and then the obvious financial reasons that come with the inclusion of the program. So, after seeing all of these results, I personally am going to be in support of bringing football back. However, with this speech here, I'm not trying to sway your vote sitting here. I just want everybody to keep in mind all the different ideas that have come from the student body and use that to vote appropriately.
Senator Vance.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Senator Vance. It's my first time. This is my first semester on Senate. I just wanted to let you guys know, I went to Science Hill High School. I'm sorry, I'm like right here. I went to Science Hill High School. Science Hill High School, literally, I can walk there from this room right now. All my friends would yeah, I'm really good. All my friends would ask me, where are you going to go to school? And I would say, well, I've been thinking about, Tennessee Tech or UT, and they would all say the same thing. And then it ended up I came to ETSU. And I'll be honest, when I first started ETSU, I didn't know what to expect, and I honestly thought that all these people who graduated with me in high school are going to be down in Knoxville having the greatest time ever, and I'm here 5 minutes away from my school, 10 minutes away from my house that I grew up in. But through my first year in college, I've realized that being on campus at ETSU, I don't even feel like I'm in Johnson City anymore. I feel like I'm in this own world, this own place that is self-sufficient and growing and passionate, and that's ETSU, the campus of people here. I don't need to go out. And I tell my friends when they come back, and I'm like, I'm glad I went to ETSU, and honestly, I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. But I want us to think about, we're not bringing football back. We're not just bringing football, we're bringing culture. We're bringing excitement, and that's exactly what we need, because you go to a basketball game, you go to a baseball, soccer game, you do not see fans there. I mean, there's some people, they're just on their phones, they don't really care. We're bringing something that I think we all know, we're all aware that we need it. There's not school spirit here at all, and I think that's what football will bring. I think it's going to, be a catalyst for what we're looking for, and I cannot express to you how frustrating it is to see Johnson City on a Saturday in the fall covered in bright orange, and then in the afternoon everyone's gone because they're in Knoxville. There's no way we can compete with UT right now, but I think that should be our goal. It's not to compete with UT, it's to be the best university we can be. And I think that, my vision one day is seeing people on a Saturday afternoon covered in blue and gold, and decorations all over town, in restaurants, people excited and wanting to be responsible. Dr. Nolan, I was part of the 125 committee as well, and I went to the committee not really sure. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest football fan, but I will go to a game and I will have the best time ever. I might not know what's happening. Some someone crossed the line, but yeah, everyone's clapping, so I think we did good. But I know the talent football can have. I know the potential it has and what it can bring and how it can unite people. But during our meeting, Dr. Nolan said something that really stuck with me. And we were thinking about what we wanted to do in the future in 5 years, 10 years. And he said this: don't contain yourself to what you know, but where you want to be. And with that, I yield my time.
Okay, so next is Senator Klug.
Make a motion to extend time by 10 minutes.
Can I get a second? Senator Hamill. Is there an objection to extending time?
This is the last time you can extend.
Okay, so Senator Klug.
All right,
Unless you make another amendment.
My name is Tom Klug. I do a double major in economics and finance here. So in my research that I did on this bill, numbers are very important to me. I think that there's truth in those numbers. And one of the things that really bothered me when I first looked at this was the fact that so few teams, not even 10% of teams, make a profit overall. And it really bothers me the fact that, yes, that is a short-term, that isn't a short-term, I'm sorry, my mind is racing. I'm in miles an hour right now. But we have a double-edged sword in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we have the possibility of having a great football team. And yes, we're going to have, hopefully, businesses spurred. I know there aren't enough businessmen in the world. That's why I became a business major. But hopefully, one day if I ever own a business, I want to come back here as an alumni and invest in this community and in this community that we call ETSU. However, the other side of that sword is that by voting on this bill and by increasing these tuition fees, we are also adding to $1 trillion of student debt that is here in America. And that needs to be known, okay? We are adding, this isn't just 125, this is the beginning, okay? It can go up, numbers have been thrown around left and right. So I think we need to be very cautious on voting on this bill. However, that being said, I think it's kind of one of those cliches, you want to be the change you see in the world. If we really want to see change on this campus, we need to have a little bit of faith. And I think that, echo what other people have said before, that if we want to have the ETSU spirit here, we need to show it, come back, contribute to the campus as alumni and the students now. And that's how we can make this program successful. And with that, I rise in full support of this bill, or of this resolution, and I yield my time.
Thank you. Senator Hammond.
Try to follow that one up. I agree with so much. I don't want to sound like I'm really trying to polarize anyone. But I would love to see that culture that we talk about, and I would love to see football bring that. But I personally feel that we've seen great change on campus in the past year. And I think that's due to Dr. Nolan's leadership. I think that him taking over just created this transition. This is obviously just such a huge transitioning point at our 100 years, and I respect that. But I am not sure if football is the answer. Is $2 million a semester really the answer to trying to increase student engagement? Because I can see people more fired up on campus now than I definitely did last year. I really don't think that I just don't think it's worth the risk of $2 million because I think that we can find other ways to enhance school spirit. And a lot of people talk about how this is inevitable and how football is inevitable and it's going to happen regardless, and ETSU isn't going to grow without it. But I want to ask if Quillen College, was that founded on football? Was our med school founded on football? I don't think it was. Was our health science built on football? I don't think that either. I think that academics has actually flourished without a football team. I think it will continue to do so. And I think that ETSU, I think if we need to put more faith in anything, it should be our own academics, because that's really what's going to make us excel as an institution. That should be our first priority. And until we can say that we are the best in academics, which is the sole reason that most students are here, then why do we need to expand into huge frontiers that could potentially just cost us about everything we have? And I yield.
Will you yield time to me, please?
Sure.
I'm going to actually yield some time to Matt because he was on the 125 and he created a presentation about the finances, and I think that it'll give a little more insight to how this would all work. So you want to come up?
Thank you. I thank you for the time for the SGA for allowing me to be here on the 125.
A former student athlete from Johnson City, went to Science Hill, a football player. Gosh, guys, I love this place. I had opportunities to go other places. I came here. I had the chance to be here, and I wanted to be here. I've waited 10 years to get up in front of a crowd like this, and this is a fantastic opportunity. A finance major, myself, I balance a budget every day. Even more importantly, I have a budget for my family. I have 4 small kids, 4 little rugrats. That cost me a fortune. And I'm figuring out how am I going to pay for them, all of them to go to college. I do that calculation all the time. But here's what I'm left with. I want them to have the experience of a college student that is unparalleled in East Tennessee. This is a great place to live. This is a great place to raise a family. It's the best place to go to school. Academics. I hear two main things: academics and fees. Let's talk about academics. Academics, raising the standard academics is a matter of this: supply and demand. The more students that want to come here, the higher the SAT scores will come here, right? Because we can only get so many students in until we add. The higher those SAT scores, the higher the academic standards are that we'll demand. We've got great professors now. We'll get even better ones because they're going to know about ETSU and they're going to want to be here. Right? We're going to get more programs. We're going to have more students want to come here that know Johnson City, that know ETSU is the best place to be. Academics. It's a matter of supply and demand. Number 2, on the fees. Guys, I know what it's like to be a student that doesn't have much of anything, right? But this time will pass for you. You will stand out into your careers, and $125 is expensive now. It's formula in a few years for you guys. I don't want to undermine how expensive that is. But I've got legions of former student athletes of all sports. I have former alumni that ask me every day, are they going to get football back? And I'm telling them now is the best time. I've waited 10 years to hear this kind of discussion, and every one of you are making valid points. Let me encourage you. From the short polls that were taken on Facebook, from the short polls that were taken out in front of the library, I've had 10 years of polls. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is your time to make a mark on this university that you will be able to stand on for your entire life. I thank you for the time, and I yield.
Thank you.
Do you yield? Senator Triplett.
Okay. As many of you guys know, I'm from Cleveland, Tennessee. UTC is 20 minutes away. Yes, Chattanooga is a big city, but that university, which is comparable to ours, their numbers are smaller. They have a football team. I went to Bradley Central High School, and they pulled numbers of my high school senior class to their football games. We would pack up in cars and go. Okay, you've got Science Hill, which is huge high school. You've got Dobbins Bennett. You've got Happy Valley, all these high schools in the area. We're going to be able to hold jamborees here at our stadium. I mean, like, guys, there's no limitations to what this can do for our community and our town. So with that, I yield my time to Kelly.
I'm going to make this super short and super quick. Dr. Nolan mentioned something that was huge that we haven't talked about yet, and that's Title IX. With a football program, yeah, we're going to get a lot of school spirit, community jobs, community involvement and stuff like that. That's wonderful. But think about Title IX for female athletes on campus. We pride ourselves on being a very diverse campus, and our SGA has voted in so many programs and so many speakers and events that have just really cultivated diversity on campus. But think about those female athletes. A football team has what? A collegiate football team, 100 male athletes that come. We will have to make up we will have to make up for those spots with female athletic spots. That's 100 female athletes that we can bring to our campus. And with that, I yield. That was my time.
Does anybody want to make a motion now?
Call to previous question. I make a motion.
Can I get a second? Senator Wallace.
Okay, we're going to go into a vote. This is on the amendment.
Make a motion for. on the amendment and the
Right. Oh, you can do it both together? Okay. Can we stop the chatter? We can actually make a motion to vote on the amendment and the bill at the same time. So if somebody wants to make a motion to do that. Senator Barker.
I move to have the resolution voted on with the amendment altogether.
Okay. Can I get a second? Senator Triplett. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and vote. Is there any objections? Seeing no objections, we'll move into a vote. This is also on the legislation. Stop the chatter, please. Yes, you were voting yes if you want the football. In the eyes of the chair.
Okay. Wow. With that being said, we're going to move on to SSA 13-003. We need the sponsor marks, Gabby.
Wow. How do I follow that? So I know a lot of you guys have been coming up and talking to me about how this polling system works and why we're wanting to take it away. Well, it's a broken system. The amount of people who vote for the concert, in my eyes, it's not a good representation. Considering we have over 15,000 people on our campus, I can tell you for the last concert, about 1,000 people voted. It's not a good representation. So what we have come up with is an advisory committee, and that will be the people who are on this advisory committee. It'll go through an application process. Whoever is in my position next year will be able to choose who's on this committee. However, I've been listening to you guys, and that you feel like it will take away from the students. And I'm listening. I hear your suggestions, but for now, this is what we have. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to amendments. I want to hear what you guys think. What you guys just did for this football legislation, getting out there and talking to your constituents, that's what I need. I need that input. So with that,
do you yield?
I yield.
Okay, so we're going to continue on with sponsor remarks. President Ahmad.
So we've been talking about this. Sorry, I'm so excited right now.
I can't even function right.
What I wrote for this legislation.
Do you want to do a 5-minute recess?
Do you want to do a 5-minute recess?
Yeah. Okay, can we have a motion for Senator Starrett?
I move for a 5-minute recess.
For a 5-minute motion. Is there a second? Senator Crabtree, any objection? Please be back at 5:50.